Friends, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a very exciting one that I have been itching to film since I finished this book. And that book is Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. So this was my first T. Kingfisher book. I've never read any of her books before. I've heard a lot about them. I've heard about Nettle and Bone a lot. And I feel like there's another one that I'm forgetting, but I can't remember now. But I have heard a lot about her books and how good they are. So I was excited, especially going into it. I knew that it was a fairy tale retelling, fairy tale-esque type story. So I was very excited because fairy tales are some of my favorite books of all time. So I was very excited and I wasn't disappointed. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. Holy moly, this book was so good. Like, it pulled me in. Like, I just decided to read it on a whim one night because I had it on my TBR, and I'm like, let's just give this one a try because I knew it was fairy tale. It sucked me in from like the first chapter. I was sold. It's so good. Like, Toadling, it's such a weird character name, I know, but like Toadling, the main character, I don't want to spoil this for anybody if you haven't read Thornhedge yet, but if you haven't, I really suggest you do because it is so good. So Toadling, it's a Sleeping Beauty retelling, which I did not figure out for some reason when I first started reading it, and then I was looking up some information about it and it took me by surprise, and I'm like, wait a second, that makes perfect sense now. But it's something I didn't catch for a while. I don't know why. But at any rate, once I realized it was a Sleeping Beauty retelling, I loved it even more because it made sense. But it's so good. So Toadling, I don't want to give too much away, but it's about Toadling's character, who would be the fairy godmother in the situation, sort of. She is the fairy godmother. Well, the godmother, not the fairy. She's not a fairy. She's human, kind of. Besides the point, I'm getting all over the place because I'm just so excited to talk about this book finally. So she has to give a newborn a blessing, which seems simple enough, but things happen and things escalate and it takes a bad turn. That's all I can say. That's all I can say because I don't want to give too much away. But there is a knight in this who is wonderful. I love him. He is one of my new book boyfriends for sure. He is wonderful, incredible, charming, so sweet. Like, so sweet. Like, he deserves, like, someone needs to protect him because he's just too pure and too sweet and too nice, too polite. He's perfect. He's perfect book boyfriend material, and I love him. I adore him. So he's definitely on my list now for sure. But just like the story of the way that I can't even say the name correctly. The way that why can't I talk? The way that T. Kingfisher writes is incredible. Like, I love her writing style so much. And just like her, what's the word? Her descriptions. They're beautiful. And they're so well written, and you can feel the world. You feel like you're in it. This is one that I could not put down until I finished it. Like, I could not stop reading it. I had to know what was going to happen in the end. And I can say with 100% certainty, I loved the ending. If you've seen the book, you know what I'm talking about. I loved the ending so much. Like, what happens with the princess is perfect, just like what I would have wanted. No offense to the princess, but if you know, you know what happens to her. She was a terrible person. She was just a terrible person. It's basically like a version of Sleeping Beauty if Sleeping Beauty was the villain, kind of, which is a really interesting take on it, and not something I see happen very often, but it was so fun to read. Like, what if Sleeping Beauty was the villain? I don't know, but this probably is what it would be. And I don't know, it was just so good. And I can't stop going on about it. I loved it so much, like, so dearly. I gave it a 5 out of 5. easily the best book I've read this year. So far. But oh my gosh, I head over heels. I love the night, and I love totaling. I adore them. I think they're perfect. Like, the ending was so good, and I hope we get a second book. Like, this is one of the few series I feel like that makes sense to do a sequel. Like, not all books need sequels. You don't have to make them duologies and all that. You don't have to do that. But this one, I need the sequel yesterday. Like, I need it so bad. I need a sequel for this book so bad. Like, I can't even express how much I loved it. I loved it. Please read it if you haven't read it already. I mean, it came out pretty, like, not that long ago. It came out, what, in August, I think? I think it was in August, so, like, not even 2 months. But it's so good. It's so worth your time in a read. I promise. If you love fairy tales, if you love fantasy with adventure and some romance and some angst and some drama and some trauma thrown in, you will like Thornhedge. Like, I promise. Like, I'm not the type of booktuber that, like, tries to convince people to read every single book that I like just because I like it. But this one, if you don't take any other book recommendations from my channel ever, do it with Thornhedge. Please. And it's a short story, so it's not like, it's like 120-ish pages, so it's not gonna take you long to get through. It took me like a few days really to get through, because I do other stuff. I can't just sit and read all day. But, like, your girl's got schoolwork and jobs and stuff like that, so I don't have time to sit and read all day. If I would, I could. But it took me like probably a few days to get through easily, because I had to know what was gonna happen. And like I said, it's a short read. It's like, it's a little over 100 pages. I don't remember 100% sure, but it's a little over 100 pages, so not long at all. It will not take you long to get through, I promise. But it is so worth your time. It's so worth everything. And I need everybody to read it, because I need to be able to talk about it with people, because it's so special. And it's gonna be like a book I'm gonna have to revisit maybe next year or something like that. If I do any rereads, that's gonna be one of them for sure on the top of the list, because it's wonderful. It's everything. It's so good. It's so beautiful. It's heartbreaking. And there's so many good plot twists too. Like, I can't even begin to tell you. I'm not gonna give any spoilers away. I refuse to do that. But there's so many good plot twists in this book that I could not believe it. Like, it left me with my jaw on the floor. Like, I can't even tell you. So many times I just, like, screamed when I was reading because I couldn't believe the plot twist. It's so good. So, enough rambling about how much I deeply loved Thornhedge, but I do want to leave this video on a note to ask. I already know I'm going to read Nettle and Bone, but I would love to read more T. Kingfisher books, so please leave some recommendations below in the comments. If you have read other books of hers that you love, and if you think there's other ones I should read, please let me know in the comments. I would love to read more of her work. I love her writing style. It's so good. So I want more. So please recommend books down below. And if you've read Thornhedge, please comment and let me know what you thought. If you liked it, if you hated it, what your opinions are. I would love to find out and talk to you guys in the comments about that. And that is it. I'm gonna go before I ramble for another like 30 minutes about how much I love this book. Thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.